So we mentioned that there are two parties or stakeholders, yeah, in this ISO standard, okay, the appointing parties and the appointed parties. Now the standard also divide the whole project life cycle into 8 phases or 8 activities, okay, starting from the feasibility stage, for example, they call it assessment and need, okay, to the invitation to tender, to the tender response, to the information model delivery, to the mobilization, to the collaborative production of information, to the information model, and finally to the project closeout stage. So 8 activities, okay, and it basically try to tell, okay, the appointing parties and the appointed parties what are their responsibilities, okay, as they move, okay, throughout the project, this life cycle, okay, in terms of the requirements with these 8 activities when they are handling the information exchanges. As the appointing party, under the assessment and the need phase, the appointing party will need to carry out the 8 sub-activities. And let us look at what are the 8 sub-activities that the appointing parties will need to establish. The appointing party, which most of the time is the owner, okay, will need to appoint individuals to undertake the information management function, okay, yeah, establish the project information requirements, establish the project information delivery milestones, establish the project's reference information and shared resources, establish the project's information standards, establish the project's information production methods and procedures, establish the project's information protocol, as well as the project's common data environment. Sometimes the owner can engage a consultant to undertake all these 8 activities for him. Yeah. In the invitation to tender stage, the appointing party or the owner has 4 sub-activities to carry out. Let's look at these 4 sub-activities. These are the 4 sub-activities that the appointing party will need to undertake in the invitation to tender the phase. He will need to establish the appointing party's exchange information requirements. He will need to assemble reference information and shared resources. He will need to establish the tender response requirements and evaluation criteria, and also to compile invitation to tender information. During the tender response phase, the appointing party has 1 sub-activity to undergo. He will have to nominate individuals to undertake the information management function. The appointing party has very little involvement in the information model delivery, the mobilization, and the collaborative production of information phases. He will come back, okay, during the information model stage and the project closeout stage. In the information model stage, he has 1 sub-activity to undertake in this particular ISO standard. He will need to review and accept the information model. In the project closeout stage, the appointing party has 2 sub-activities to undertake. The appointing party will need to establish the project's information requirement and establish the project's information delivery milestone in this project closeout stage. We were looking at the responsibilities of the appointing parties during the different phases. Yeah. Now let's look at the responsibilities of the appointed party during the 8 phases. Among all the different 8 phases, the appointed parties will only be involved, okay, in this phase 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. In the phase 3, under the tender response phase, the appointed party will have 7 responsibilities to undertake. Let's look at these 7 responsibilities. The appointed party will need to nominate individuals to undertake the information management function. He will need to establish the delivery team's BIM execution plan. He will need to assess the task team capability and capacity. And then establish the delivery team's capability and capacity. And establish the delivery team's risk register. Establish the proposed delivery team's mobilization plan, and to compile the delivery team's tender response. During the information model delivery phase, the appointed party has again another 7 responsibilities to undertake. And let's take a look at these 7 responsibilities. The appointed party will need to confirm the delivery, there's a typo error here, delivery team's BIM execution plan. He will need to establish the delivery team's detailed responsibility matrix, establish the lead appointed party's exchange information requirements, and then after that establish the task information delivery plans, and establish the master information delivery plans. Then complete the lead appointed party's appointment documents, and complete the appointed party's appointment documents. During the mobilization stage, or the start of the construction work stage, the appointed parties, they will have 3 responsibilities to undertake. Let's take a look at these 3 responsibilities. They will need to mobilize the resources as well as the related information technology associated with the resources, and to test the project's information production methods and procedures. Under the collaborative production of information phase of the project, the rollout, the appointed party will have 5 more responsibilities to undertake. They will need to check availability of reference information and shared resources, and they will need to generate information, complete quality assurance check, review information and approve for sharing, and finally review the information model. In the project closeout stage, which should be the phase A, or not 7, phase A, they have 4 responsibilities to undertake as the appointed parties, and let's take a look at them. The appointed parties will need to submit information model, their own information models, for their area of work, for the lead appointed parties authorization. Review and authorize their own information models that they have submitted. Submit the information models for the appointing parties' acceptance. Review and accept the information model. We have talked about lean construction in the lectures on the virtual design and construction, the Singapore Framework series, and it is possible to join the lean construction concepts with the ISO standard, right? The core issue of lean is to maximize value and to minimize the waste with continuous improvement in products based on customers' need and the people-centered production processes. And lean principles can be applied on any sort of production, including construction, independent of the space where it takes place. It can take place in a factory, office, or work site. But the key thing to take note is that the lean practices must be adapted and require specific tools for multi-party supply chains, which construction is very similar to, because construction involves multi-parties. The next 2 slides show you some of the tools under lean construction which we can use And you probably would have seen them when we are talking about the virtual design construction. But these first run studies, okay, may not be so familiar to you. First run studies to redesign critical assignment, okay. It was first mentioned in 1977, and the idea is analysis to redesign critical assignments, including productivity studies and review work methods by redesigning and streamlining the different functions involved, using videos, photos, graphics to show the process or to illustrate the work instructions. Value stream mapping, which the VDC, the lectures also talk about, okay, or Six Sigma, which the VDC lecture talks about, the PDCA cycle, yeah. The daily huddle meetings, which we also mentioned that before, okay, but key thing to take note is that these daily huddle meetings, they are quite short duration. It's not meant to be a very long meeting, right? Last planner system, okay, the 5S process, okay, and the weekly work plan. Whichever lean tools that you are using, the thinking behind those tools typically will involve all these 5 items. Basically, it's trying to create values for client, reduce waste in production, collaborate with other people, teams, companies by means of a workflow, work on demand, pursue continuous improvement towards perfection. So how do we create the team to work with this ISO standard? Well, this ISO standard is for parties involved in the design, construction, operation, maintenance, and disposal, demolition of the built asset. But depending on the assumed functions and the activities in the project, there could be different levels of commitment from the different parties. The parties should be aware that this standard is all about collaboration and effective teamwork. That's why Lean is a very good natural fit. It is recommended that the core team should be made up of all participants from the appointing parties, because they are the ones who are setting the requirements and at least appointing one responsible for each lead appointed parties. So how do we work collaboratively, okay, according to this standard? Well, collaboration refers to an exchange of information which meets a particular purpose, okay, such as to do a task or to make a decision. To work collaboratively, common data environment for collecting, managing, sharing each information through a controlled process would be a practical approach. The information on the common data environment should be readily available for those who need it when they need it, which should be based on the content of the BIM execution plan. Each information in the common data environment should have a status tag describing the current work as work in progress, or shared information, or published information, or even archive information. This is an example of how an information container is produced, okay, in the common data environment shared publish, okay, the flow. So you can have, for example, the architectural team, okay, there is a work in progress on the particular piece of work. And after the checking, review, and approval, okay, the status becomes shared, and the information is shared with the mechanical and this electrical team to carry out the crash detection. And after review and authorization, okay, it is then published. Also, the architectural information model is validated for construction, and then after that, it is archived. All in all, this ISO standard forms a reliable basis for decision making. For clients, it reduces the risk, okay, the delays, the cost overruns. It increases the predictability and achieves better business outcomes. For supply chain providers, the designers, the contractors, the engineers, it facilitates collaboration between all stakeholders. It improves general working processes and its quality. It reduces rework and increases efficiency. For professionals, it reduces time and effort to become productive in a new project. And for projects, it increases the quality of the projects by having well-structured information deliverable.